Good evening, football fans. Today is Tuesday, August 26th, and that means it's time for Madden 15. I hopped in my car, went over to the local GameStop, went to the midnight release, and the first thing I did when I came home was I booted up this franchise mode and started up the Raiders. So you can see I'm starting on my fantasy draft, because you guys know I made the video. If you didn't already see that, there will be an annotation for it on the screen. And I made the video announcing that I will be doing a Raiders fantasy draft. And that's what we're doing right here. And for those of you who kind of wasn't really the biggest fans of fantasy drafts, well, I've always enjoyed fantasy drafts. I always have. As you see, I picked J.J. Watt with my first overall pick. Well, not first overall, first round pick. And what can I say? The guy is J.J. Watt. He's Wisconsin. Wisconsin produces studs. The guy is amazing. And you can say his name amazingly. It's J.J. And that's pretty much why I went with him. And then we go to the second round. And the thing about this year's fantasy draft is it's not all about overall points. There's actually projected rounds. And in the second round, I actually went with Patrick Willis because he was still there in the second round. And then in the third round, I saw Teddy Bridgewater was taking the pick before me. And I was considering getting him before, but I knew I had to get him really early. And so I went in the picks, and I saw LeSean McCoy is still there in the third round. So my top three picks are J.J. Patrick Willis, my boy from the Niners, my favorite team. And then the third rounder is LeSean Shady McCoy. So it's not too bad at all, not too shabby at all, if I do say so myself. Then it got down to the fourth round, and I knew I had to get a corner pretty early in the draft. I could have probably got a better shutdown corner, but I decided to go with Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. He's a guy who came out into the NFL as a really unknown guy, and he's proven that he can be a solid corner with the Arizona Cardinals, and I'm hoping he can translate that to be my shutdown corner for the first few years, at the least, with this Raiders team. Then we go to the fifth round, and I got my first wide receiver in Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb is another guy who came in the NFL. Nobody really was too high on the guy. He had to play with a chip on his shoulder, and now he's one of the best receivers. I wouldn't say best receiver, but he's a very good receiver in the league. Randall Cobb, he's a guy, Aaron Rodgers, pretty sure it's Aaron Rodgers' main target, if not Jordy Nelson. But then, once we got Randall Cobb, it got down to the sixth round, and Eric Berry was still there. Eric Berry, I'm really surprised is only an 89 overall in this game, or an 88, whatever he is, because Eric Berry was always in the 90s before in previous games, and he's always been one of my favorite safeties. He was usually one of my first three picks in previous Madden fantasy drafts, and I always loved getting him at strong safety, and well, now he's my strong safety. And then here you see, in the ninth round, we went with Ryan Mallett. I reached on it because he wasn't going to be there when I picked in the 10th, so I decided to go with him. Or was it the 8th round? Whatever round that was, it was the 7th round. It was the 7th round, and I went with Ryan Mallett. And now here you see my whole roster. Cubies, Ryan Mallett, Josh Freeman, and Zach Dysert, who is from Miami, Ohio. And we got LeSean McCoy. Chris Ivory's going to be my third down back. Even got Marcus Lattimore and Dree Archer. Dree Archer to return some kicks and punts. Mike Cox, the blocking fullback. Receivers, Randall Cobb, Jeremy Maclin, Harry Douglas, Jacoby Ford. Ryan Broyles is the guy who is going to compete with Jacoby Ford for the fourth spot. Lee Smith's the good blocking tight end who can catch the ball sometimes. Dustin Keller's his backup. And then the offensive line is Anthony Collins, Mike Uapati, Nick Mangold, who probably has some of the best hair in the NFL. Right guard, Marshall Yonda, very solid right guard. Then right tackle, Anthony Davis, for my favorite team, Rutgers, and also for my favorite team, the 49ers. Left end, J.J. Watt. Right end, Coney Ealy, I think that's how you pronounce it. He was the guy who was on the other side of Michael Sam in college. Defensive tackles is a little bit weak as we only have Jonathan Hankins. Left outside linebacker, I'm not sure if it's going to be Bill Harness or if it's going to be Nick Perry, but as of right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Bo Harness or Harness. I forget how you say it, but he's from Rutgers, so I'm leaning towards him. Middle linebacker is Patrick Willis, then Manti Te'o. Right outside linebacker is Quentin Coples. And then you see the corners are Rodgers-Cromartie, Culliver, Drake Kirkpatrick, and then Bill Bentley. I think it's Bill Bentley. He's got some decent stats for only a 70 overall, so with him. Free safety you saw there was Stevie Brown. and strong safety Eric Berry. And I'm really happy with this team, extremely happy with this team, to be honest, because it has a decent defense, it has some pieces that I can improve on. Pretty much, it has like a tight end I can improve on. I could have some better, maybe, well, not really better receivers, maybe a better fourth receiver. Cubies has a lot of potential in Ryan Mallett. But as a whole of this team, it has some pieces of the defense that are just young guys who are kind of just filling the gap to maybe in the offseason I can improve on. I definitely want to improve on defensive tackle and left outside linebacker, because Bo Harness and Nick Perry aren't really viable starters at left outside linebacker. And then at defensive tackle, Jonathan Hankins isn't exactly what you would want as your #1 defensive tackle. So in the offseason, that's definitely a position of focus. But right now, we haven't played our first game yet, and this is our roster. I'm feeling very confident with it. And that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this first episode of the Rangers franchise. I hope you guys are looking forward to it as much as I am. And with that being said, I'm JerseyBorn, and I'm saying goodbye.